بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. Yesterday we finished the discussion about the category of Maghdub alayhim, that is, of those unfortunate people who are the recipients of wrath, both the recipients of wrath of Allah and the recipients of wrath of people and of the elements of nature as well. Now we turn our attention to the last category mentioned in the Holy Quran, the last category of the unfortunate ones again, under the title Dhalleen, that is, those who have gone astray, and the responsibility of their going astray is attributed to them themselves. They are not the object of any deception on the part of somebody else, but they themselves deceive themselves. They are responsible for their crooked acts. Although in some places in the Holy Quran, the act of somebody's having gone astray is attributed to Allah apparently, as if he is the subject of leading someone astray, but dispel this from your mind once and for all. Allah never leads anybody astray, but sometimes He adjudges people having gone astray. And in Arabic idiom, in the idiom of the Holy Quran, this is described as if Allah has led astray. That means Allah has adjudged someone to have gone astray. And this has been made clear in the Holy Quran itself and so many other places, so that no confusion is to be entertained about it. The verses which may lead some cursory readers, there are some, I've chosen one or two to give an example. مَنْ يُضْلِلِ اللَّهُ فَلَا هَادِيَ لَهُ وَيَذَرُهُمْ فِي طُغْيَانِهِمْ يَعْمَهُونَ. Whomsoever Allah, as if it is said, leads astray. But the correct translation is, whomsoever Allah adjudges astray, there can be no guide for him, and He leaves such in their transgression, wandering in distraction. Then again in another verse, this verse was taken from Al-Araf, it is 187th verse, and the one which I am now referring to is from Abraham, and it is 28th. يثبت الله الذين آمنوا بالقول الثابت في الحياة الدنيا وفي الآخرة ويضل الله الظالمين ويفعل الله ما يشاء. Allah strengthens the believers with the word that is firmly established. قول الثابت. Now this needs explanation, but this is not the topic of today, so I leave it alone. Both in the present life and in the hereafter. And Allah lets the wrongdoers go astray. Here yudillullahu zalimeen means Allah will not forcibly correct the ways of the wrongdoers. He would permit them to go astray if they have so chosen. The fact is that the process of somebody having been led astray or declared astray by Allah is further described in the Holy Quran, and the whole phenomenon is so clarified that we will not get يبين لهم ما يتقون إن الله بكل شيء عليم. And it is not for Allah, it doesn't becomes Allah to cause a people to go astray after He has guided them. Allah guides people. People go astray themselves, and it doesn't behove Allah to let people go astray, even that, until what? Until He makes clear to them, that which they ought to guard against, that is yattaqoon. Allah does not even permit people to go astray after He has guided them to the right path, until He has made it very clear to them that these are the pitfalls, you should avoid them, and this is the right safe path. Having made it very clear to them, if then they choose to make a misstep, then Allah will not interfere and will not save them. Then again, the same subject is taken up in another verse, Al-Baqarah 27, يُذِلُّ بِهِ كَثِيرًا وَيَهْدِي بِهِ كَثِيرًا. Allah, as if it is said, Allah leads many astray and leads many to the right path. But it is further explained, وَمَا يُذِلُّ بِهِ إِلَّا الْفَاسِقِينَ. Allah does not lead astray the right sort of people. Leads only those astray who have already gone astray, al-fasiqeen, who are corrupt. So the people, this is a different phenomenon discussed here. Here Allah is of course the subject, and He leads astray. It is not that He adjusts astray, but leads astray those who are a corrupt people, who deserve to be led astray. If a society has become corrupt and cruel and unjust, it deserves some punishment, and their being led astray further is their punishment. Like good deeds lead to other good deeds and further guidance. So bad and evil deeds lead to distraction and lead to a path of an evil path and a misguided path. This works both ways, in good as well as in evil. And here in both cases Allah is directly responsible for that ultimate result of somebody's actions. At one time someone asked Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam his past good deeds, whether he would be rewarded for those good deeds which he had done while he had not accepted Islam. The straight answer was, your Islam is the reward of that good deed, those good deeds. You have been led by Allah to the right path. This is the reward. What else could you require? What else could you expect or dream of? So, the same phenomenon works vis-a-vis the corrupt people. By way of punishment, they are led astray. A frame of mind is created for them by their own evil deeds, which would not permit them to be led astray, to be led to the right path. Balit, another verse in Surah Rum, further explains this process. Balit taba alladhina zalamu ahwa'ahum bighayri ilmin faman yahdi man adalla Allah wa ma lahum min nasirin. But those who are unjust follow their own low desires without any knowledge. Then who can guide him whom Allah has adjudged as lost? Here the meaning of adallallah is adjudged. Again in Surah Nahl, verses 37 and 38, we are told, وَلَقَدْ بَعَثْنَا فِي كُلِّ أُمَّةٍ رَسُولًا أَنْ اعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ وَاجْتَنِبُوا الطَّاغُوتَ فَمِنْهُمْ مَنْ هَدَى اللَّهُ وَمِنْهُمْ مَنْ حَقَّتْ عَلَيْهِ الضَّلَالَةُ فَسِيرُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ فَانظُرُوا كَيْفَ كَانَ عَاقِبَةُ الْمُكَذِّبِينَ. وَلَقَدْ بَعَثْنَا فِي كُلِّ أُمَّةٍ رَسُولًا, and verily we did raise among every people a messenger, preaching worship Allah and shun the evil one. Then among them were some whom Allah guided, and among them were some who became deserving of ruin. That is to say, they deserve their evil ways, and they deserve to be misguided, because they had, this word haqqat alahim means they earned, not only deserved, but they earned it because of their evil deeds. So although apparently Allah misleads them, but it is they who have themselves earned that deserve of being misled. Now what is this phenomena of Allah misleading those who are corrupt? In fact, this act is attributed to God, but in reality when you analyze the fact, it only simply means that those who are corruptly minded, they simply cannot be led to the right path. They have a system of crooked thinking and crooked reasoning. They are not straight within. So those who are not straight within cannot be led to a straight path. That is the phenomenon which is described as Allah misleads or Allah misguides. And in the context of all these verses, this is a very clear picture which is created by all these verses I have just read, that the people who are corrupt within, their thinking becomes corrupt. And this again is the meaning of the very first verse of the Holy Quran. The whole thing is referred to that first declaration, that Hudan lil Muttaqin. After all that is said and done, it simply precipitates to this, that those who have a righteous approach in thinking, who are true within, only they can be guided to the right path. And those who are crooked within, their own system of thinking is so wrong that when they see white, they conclude it to be black. So they cannot be led to the right path at all. I mean, it's impossible. To call a spade is the elementary definition of taqwa. And that is what these people lack. Now, of those people who are declared to be dhalleen, many categories have been described in the Holy Quran. As I said earlier, dhalleen is the act of doing evil, or being crooked, or drawing wrong inferences, and so on and so forth. Here the punishment is not mentioned. In the previous verse, the orientation was towards punishment. Here it is the emphasis is on the evil acts themselves. So some acts which are more evil, they are described in the Holy Quran as zalalim ba'id, extreme, going astray to the very extreme degree, to the maximum degree. A few among them are to be, I've chosen them to illustrate the point so that these are the extreme evil acts which every moment, every believer must shun and make it a point that he would guard against these acts very specially, because they have been specially emphasized. Allah tells us, الَّذِينَ يَسْتَحِبُّونَ الْحَيَاةَ الدُّنْيَا عَلَى الْآخِرَةِ وَيَصُدُّونَ عَنْ سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ وَيَبْغُونَهَا عِوَجًا أُولَٰئِكَ فِي ضَلَالٍ بَعِيدٍ. Those who prefer the present life to the hereafter and hinder men from the way of Allah and seek to make it crooked, it is these who have gone far off in error. Now this verse makes a distinction between personal sins and the sins of society, social sins. There are certain sins which remain limited to one's own person. They are also described as dalal, that is wrongdoing, but they are not condemned as roundly and as emphatically as certain other sins which become the social evils, which are responsible for leading other people astray as well, like a contagious disease. It is also a disease. Maybe as far as the subjective symptoms are concerned, a person suffering from a contagious disease is not suffering as much as someone who is suffering from a disease which is not catching, which is not contagious, which cannot be conveyed to others. Yet, a contagious disease creates panic in the society. The whole society pays attention to it because it spreads. So Allah tells those who are suffering from some evil, if they contain it to themselves, if they keep it to themselves, if they do not permit it to be put across to others, this is of course wrong, but a wrong of a lower degree, a lower order. But Zulale Baid is the one where you are yourself gone astray and then you lead others astray as well, consciously. That is Zulale Baid, that is the going astray of the extreme degree, to be in error, beyond which no error can be conceived. Now this leading astray is of two categories, two types. One, stopping people from accepting truth. That has been described in this verse. If the call is made from Allah, a messenger has been sent from Allah, and people who do not consider him to be the righteous one, the right one, they not only reject him but also make efforts to stop others from accepting him. This is what has been described as the greatest evil and the manifest error in this world, in this verse, Ulaika fi Dulalin Baid. But there are other types of evils, again, which are described as evils of extreme degree, errors of extreme degree, which relate to changing the message of God. Practically it amounts to the same thing. Preventing people from joining a true movement or distorting the movement itself, the teachings of that movement itself, the teachings of a message. Practically it amounts to the same thing. People are prevented from reaching truth or benefiting from truth. So the Holy Quran tells us in Baqarah 109, وَمَنْ يَتَبَدِّلِ الْكُفْرَ بِالْإِيمَانِ فَقَدْ ضَلَّ سَوَاءَ السَّبِيلِ. And whoever takes disbelief in exchange for belief, that is, barters misbelief with belief, has undoubtedly gone astray from the right path. That is one meaning. But the meaning which I prefer to, the translation which I prefer is this: "Man yatabaddal kufra bil iman, faqad dhalla sawa as-sabil." This applies to another sphere as well, this verse. That is, after Allah has established faith, has revealed the message, then people who change that faith into disbelief gradually by interpolating, by interfering with the message, that process is also covered by this verse. Then again, disbelief or rejection of the fundamental articles of faith, whether you spread this disbelief to others or not, if you commit this sin, that is, you reject all the fundamental articles of faith, that is, you become totally an atheist or so, that is also declared by the Holy Quran to be Zulal Ba'id, that is a manifest error of the maximum degree. Ya ayyuhallazina amanu aminu billahi wa rasulihi wal kitabil ladzi nazzala ala rasulihi wal kitabil ladzi anzala min qabl. These are the fundamental articles of faith. Some of them which have been described here. وَمَنْ يَكْفُرْ بِاللَّهِ وَمَلَائِكَتِهِ وَكُتُبِهِ. Here the remaining also come. وَمَنْ يَكْفُرْ بِاللَّهِ وَمَلَائِكَتِهِ وَكُتُبِهِ وَرُسُلِهِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ فَقَدْ ضَلَّ ضَلَالًا بَعِيدًا. Those who reject Allah and His angels and His books and His messengers and the last day, the day of the judgment, the final day of judgment, فَقَدْ ضَلَّ ضَلَالًا بَعِيدًا. These are the people who are in manifest errors and who have gone astray to the extreme degree. Now you will be surprised to notice that qadru khairihi wa sharrihi has not been mentioned in this list. In many other places as well, this list has been mentioned as the list of fundamental beliefs, the fundamental articles of a believer's faith. Yet qadru khairihi wa sharrihi is not mentioned. In fact, as I have considered this question, I believe that qadru khairihi and sharrihi is the sum total of all these beliefs. There is not time to explain this issue in detail further here at this moment, but if you ponder this issue yourself, you will reach the same conclusion, that all these 5 articles, fundamental articles of faith, give birth to the 6th, that is qadru khairihi wa sharrihi. This is qadru khairihi wa sharrihi, which is described here in totality. So to make it clear, to emphasize that ultimate result of this, in traditions, in hadith we read another article of faith added, that is qadru khairihi wa sharrihi. Now to cut the matter short, because we are pressed for time, hard pressed for time, please. 1 घंटा किसमें? नहीं, दुआ दर्स के लिए तो 1 घंटा रहेगा ना. The Holy Quran has left no aspect of this, leading astray or being led astray or going astray or being in error untouched. No aspect. And everything has been described in such detail that one can never complain that I made this mistake unknowing, unawares. Signboards are, in bold letters, written in bold letters, are hung here and there, every place. Before you reach the pitfall, long before that, the signboards begin to appear, telling you that you are approaching this and you are approaching that, and now beware, you are about to fall into the pit. Shafa hafratin al-nar, and so on and so forth. So, and how to avoid such pitfalls, and how to avoid that dispensation, that inner tendency, which will ultimately lead you to it. What are the factors responsible? Everything is discussed in detail, but unfortunately, because of the shortage of time, I can't touch on all aspects of the subject. But one I must tell you, and that is an everyday experience with everyone, yet we do not notice it to be a sign of going astray. The Holy Quran tells us in Al-An'am verse 126, وَمَنْ يُرِدْ أَنْ يُضِلَّهُ يَجْعَلْ صَدْرَهُ ضَيِّقًا حَرَجًا كَأَنَّمَا يَصَّعَّدُ فِي السَّمَاءِ كَذَلِكَ يَجْعَلُ اللَّهُ الرِّجْسَ عَلَى الَّذِينَ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ. Before this, there is a verse which also should be, I think it's a part of the same verse, yes. فَمَنْ يُرِدِ اللَّهُ أَنْ يَهْدِيَهُ يَشْرَحْ صَدْرَهُ لِلْإِسْلَامِ وَمَنْ يُرِدْ أَنْ يُضِلَّهُ يَجْعَلْ صَدْرَهُ ضَيِّقًا حَرَجًا كَأَنَّمَا يَصَّعَّدُ فِي السَّمَاءِ. Those whom Allah wants to guide, desires to guide to the right path, Allah opens up their hearts to truth and Islam. And they feel happy in accepting the truth. وَمَنْ يُرِدْ أَنْ يُضِلَّهُ, and those on whom Allah passes this judgment that they should be led astray, يَجْعَلْ صَدْرَهُ ضَيِّقًا, of such Allah of these Allah, let me say, no, this is also again the wrong beginning of the sentence. Allah makes their minds closed to truth. That is one way of expressing it. It is rather difficult. يَجْعَلْ صَدْرَهُ ضَيِّقًا. It can be translated, Allah makes their minds closed to that truth, or makes them short-winded, so that when they think of accepting truth, they feel as if they are laboring towards an ascent. They are trying to climb a mountain while they are short-winded. They have the same feeling in approaching the truth. They are averse to accepting the truth because within themselves they find it rather hard to follow it. They are not attuned to truth. These are the general expressions which have been packed into one most beautiful expression adopted by the Holy Quran, which says, يَجْعَلْ صَدْرَهُ ضَيِّقًا حَرَجًا كَأَنَّمَا يَصَعَّدُ فِي السَّمَاءِ. Allah makes their hearts narrowed towards truth. And let me see how it is rendered by Maurice Sahib. And as to him whom he wishes to let go astray, he makes his bosom narrow. Now I think to make somebody's bosom narrow is not an English idiom. It's my feeling, maybe I'm wrong. But if you say, I have made somebody's bosom narrow, perhaps the English people will not receive a message from this. So this is why I said their minds are closed to that, or they are short-winded about it. They seem to have gone through a great labor in achieving something, and they lose their breath in that process. So they are averse to it. As though he were mounting up into the skies. Not only climbing a mountain, that is an easier task compared to this. As if they are climbing directly in the heavens. That is the labor experienced by them. Thus does Allah inflict punishment on those who do not believe. Now, what I wanted to point out was this, that this is an extreme case described. But in everyday experience, we can judge ourselves in our approach to goodness. If we hear the call to prayer 5 times a day, and if that call does not open up in our heart, if a door to accept, to welcome that call, and if we do not find ourselves inclined to accept that call and respond to it, on the contrary, if by listening to that call we feel something closing within ourselves, we feel as if something hard is being expected of us, we are called to a labor which we would not rather have, then we go through the same process. So in small bits, every day, we either accept Islam or reject Islam. And Allah has told us, given us the symptoms, how to find out whether we are accepting Islam or rejecting Islam. In everyday experience, all among us, whether they belong to high degrees of belief and faith or low degrees, in their respective regions, either reject Islam in part or accept Islam with open arms, and it's not difficult for us to monitor our courses and our tendencies.